It began as a debate, but it felt more like a battlefield. Candace Owens, the woman who never flinched, never folded, never softened her words, sat across from Ben Shapiro under the harsh white lights. Millions were watching, expecting another fiery exchange. But tonight, something was different. There was tension in the air so thick you could almost hear it hum. The debate was supposed to be about politics, ideology, the usual. But when Candace leaned forward, eyes glinting with that unmistakable defiance, the conversation took a darker turn. "Do you really think this was just an accident, Ben?" she asked. Her voice was low, controlled, almost trembling with truth she wasn't sure she should say. "Do you think Charlie just disappeared?" The silence that followed was electric. Ben Shapiro, usually a machine of logic, always ready with a counterpoint, froze. His lips parted, then closed again. The room itself seemed to hold its breath. It wasn't just a question, it was an accusation, and everyone knew it. Within seconds, the clip went viral. Candace Owens confronts Ben Shapiro live. Twitter, TikTok, and Reddit exploded with theories. "Where is Charlie Kirk?" became the cry that echoed through every feed. Hashtags burned like wildfire. Hashtag where is Charlie? Hashtag Candace knows something. Hashtag Ben is hiding something.
But for Candace, this wasn't about clicks or fame. It was something deeper, personal. Charlie Kirk wasn't just a colleague. He was her friend, her ally, the one person who had believed in her fire when the establishment told her to dim it. Now he was gone, vanished, without a word, without a trace. And every fiber of her being screamed that this wasn't coincidence. Behind the camera lights, the control room was chaos. Producers whispered, techs froze, unsure whether to cut or let it play. But Candace wasn't stopping. Her words sliced through the air, precise and dangerous. "You know what's happening, Ben," she said quietly. "You just won't say it." The internet went into overdrive. Analysts replayed every frame, reading her eyes, his hesitation, the slight twitch of Ben's jaw. Some said she had lost control. Others said she had finally spoken the truth no one dared to touch. Then came the first wave of rumors. Posts appeared on obscure forums. Charlie Kirk silenced after internal dispute. Turning Point USA in crisis. Candace warned to stop talking. Most were dismissed as conspiracy, but one anonymous comment stood out. It read, "She's right. He didn't vanish. He was erased." She saw it. She didn't share it, but she didn't deny it either. Instead, she went live that night, just her phone, a dimly lit room, and her voice. "You all think I'm crazy, but the truth doesn't vanish because you call it a conspiracy. The truth fights back." Within hours, millions were watching. Her tone wasn't rage, it was conviction. Fearless, raw, dangerous. "Charlie told me things that could destroy people who think they're untouchable. And now, he's gone." That was the spark. And in the digital age, one spark can burn down the entire system. By morning, Candace Owens was trending across every platform. The media called her reckless, emotional, unstable. But her followers saw something else. Courage. The courage to speak when everyone else stayed silent. To question when others obeyed. And somewhere in that storm of retweets and rage, something began to shift. The story was no longer about what happened to Charlie Kirk. It was about what Candace Owens had dared to expose. Because for the first time, people weren't just listening to her words. They were believing them.
The following week felt like an unraveling. Candace Owens wasn't just trending anymore. She was under attack. News outlets dissected every second of her live stream. Influencers mocked her. Even close allies began to distance themselves, issuing carefully worded statements about respecting privacy and avoiding misinformation. But Candace didn't back down. If anything, the resistance fueled her. She showed up the next morning in a black blazer, hair pulled tight, her voice steadier than ever. "They want me to apologize," she said into the camera, "but I won't apologize for asking questions." What the audience didn't know was that she had started receiving messages, anonymous, encrypted, and chillingly detailed. One contained coordinates, another a single sentence: "You're not supposed to find him." That night, she posted a photo, the skyline of Washington, D.C., blurred and distant, captioned, "Some things are worth the risk." Within minutes, it went viral. Thousands speculated that she was meeting someone powerful, maybe an insider, maybe a whistleblower. And then came the twist. A leaked clip appeared online, grainy, unverified, allegedly showing a closed-door meeting between senior figures from Turning Point USA and a handful of political donors. The audio was faint, but one voice, low and deliberate, caught everyone's attention. "Keep her quiet. She's a liability now."
It spread like fire. Millions of views, re-uploads, remixes, breakdowns. Some claimed the voice was fake, generated by AI. Others swore it matched Ben Shapiro's tone perfectly, but the damage was done. Candace didn't comment, not directly. Instead, she tweeted a single phrase: "The truth is louder than money." The world watched. Supporters hailed her as a truth-teller, critics branded her a provocateur feeding chaos. But behind the headlines, something deeper was shifting, a fracture in the system she had once helped build. Late one night, Candace appeared again on her live stream, this time in near darkness, her expression soft, exhausted but resolute. "You know," she said, "when you speak against power, they don't just argue, they erase." Her eyes flickered to the side, as if searching for the right words. But maybe that's the point. Maybe you can't destroy what's already out in the open. The chat exploded. Heart emojis, angry faces, theories flooding in faster than she could read them. She smiled faintly. "Charlie knew something," she said quietly. "He told me names. Real names. But if I say them here, this live ends." For a few seconds, silence. Then, the feed cut to black. No one knew whether it was an accident, censorship, or something else. But within hours, her name was everywhere again. Candace Owens silenced mid-live stream. Mainstream outlets tried to downplay it. Technical glitch, they said, internet storm. But for her followers, it was confirmation, proof that she had been on the edge of exposing something far bigger than anyone imagined. Days passed. Then a mysterious podcast clip surfaced. Joe Rogan casually discussing Candace's situation with a hint of unease. "If she's right," he said, "then the game's a lot darker than we thought." That single sentence reignited everything. Candace, despite the noise, remained calm. Her next move was silence. No posts, no interviews, no statements, just absence. And somehow that silence spoke louder than any headline. Weeks later, she appeared again, not on social media, but on stage at a small event in Nashville. The room was dim, the audience quiet. She began with no introduction. "They tried to bury me, but they forgot I'm a seed." The crowd erupted. It wasn't just applause, it was relief, belief, rebellion. She had become something more than a commentator. She was a symbol of defiance in a world drowning in fear. By then, even her critics couldn't look away. Because love her or hate her, Candace Owens had done the unthinkable. She made people question everything. And somewhere,
deep in that shadow where politics, money, and truth collide. Someone was watching. Someone who knew exactly what Charlie Kirk had tried to say before he disappeared. And maybe, just maybe, Candace wasn't as alone as they wanted her to believe.